Hi, this is what you're looking at. Today we have another airsoft review for you. Today we have the JG AUG in the civilian version. Hope you enjoy the video. Okay, before I start this review, this gun is provided to me by my friends over at airsoftStation.com. They've been generous enough to send me this JG AUG for review. Really happy about it because if you know me, the only bullpup gun I've really ever had was the Spring FAMAS like 2 years ago. So I'm really excited to see what this gun can do. The difference between the normal rifles that I'm always used to using and the bullpup design, and to see what we can get out of this gun. As with any review, we're going to start off with the box here. I just like what it says right there. It says emulational high-powered nicety. I'm guessing they meant to write necessity or something, but that's straight up gong for you right there. They make decent guns, but they do not know how to put English on a box. Also, it says AUG 1G, which means it's the AUG A1, the first version that they made of it. Has the picture of the AUG right there. Pretty much just standard box, anything you normally see coming from your Chinese clone airsoft gun. Okay, just like any gong or a Chinese clone gun, you're going to get these standard accessories to come with it. We have a trickle charger. Really don't suggest using it if you got more than one gun. A standard JG Works or gong 8.4 1100 milliamp battery. A bag of .2s that look like .12s. An orange barrel plug that just doesn't stay on the gun. Your standard high capacity magazine that comes with the JG AUGs. A nicely sized unjamming rod for the longer inner barrel of the JG AUG. Some really cheap front and rear sights made of complete plastic if you don't plan to get a scope. 2 paper targets. And of course, your original gong completely Chinglish manual. And finally, after almost all of these accessories, we have the gun itself. The JG AUG civilian version. Okay, my first impressions of the AUG are not too shabby. I really like the feel of the body. It's more likely going to be an ABS plastic or a nylon fiber, but it really does kind of feel like a polymer. It has a nice feel to it. It's not cheap. The only bad thing I'd probably have to say about the body is in the back where you put the battery in at, you can kind of push it in a little bit, which makes it just feel not as strong as it probably is up here. The things I liked when I originally, held up the gun is that, I like the feel of the ergonomics of the AUG with how it's the bullpup, how you have your hand right here, and then you have the grip up here, really nice initial feel, really nice cheek rest, especially with the rubber piece right here that's black and the other ejection port. You can kind of have your cheek up against that, and it feels really, really comfortable to hold the gun. Okay, going on to all the metal external parts of this gun, we have your outer barrel right here that has this nice little texture piece to it, just a little wobble to the barrel, really shouldn't affect anything with the gun. We have the top rail, which is long enough to fit pretty much any sight. The only beef I'd have with it is that it's not a regular pattern of where you can actually attach it at. There's like a piece here, and then it kind of jumps and then it goes back to here. But, if you got enough room on your scope, you can adjust your scope rings to fit with the rail. So that's always nice to see. The rest of the upper receiver is metal. And, of course, your 2 sling points. You got the one right here on the front. And then you got the one right here on the right side or the left side of the gun. I probably wouldn't trust using them though. They seem really cheap even though they are metal. Okay, moving on to the wobbly parts of the gun. All the body of this gun is really solid. The kind of extra pieces that you necessarily don't need for the gun have a decent amount of wobble to them. Like the foregrip here, I know you pull it down and it has 2 positions, but there's a little wobble right here. But when you got it all the way down, it has a decent amount of wobble to it. It doesn't feel like it wants to fall out, but definitely when you're trying to run and shoot, you'll kind of feel it probably affect your shooting a little bit. So as long as you're not trying to run really fast and shoot someone, this shouldn't affect you, but you'll definitely notice the wobble. The other piece that's kind of wobbly and it feels kind of cheap is the charging handle here. It goes back, locks into place, other side lets you see the hop up, but when it's down, it's got a decent amount of play to it, and then when it goes back, it kind of feels, I don't know if it's just the sound of the spring, but it sounds kind of cheap. Besides that though, everything to this gun is really nice. as it is the bullpup design, the gearbox is going to be geared more to the back of the gun. A center hop up is going to start here because that's where your magazine goes in at. It's really back heavy, and then on top of that, you put the battery in the back, so that adds just even more weight to the back, including the magazine. Okay, moving on to installation of the battery. The battery, this gun is wired to the back, so you're going to take off the rubber butt plate right here, which might I add is a really nice addition to the gun. It comes right off. You got your wires and your fuse. This is wired to a small type battery. Unfortunately, though, with the very limited space in the back of the gun, as you can see right there, the back of the gun can only fit an 8.4. So if you feel comfortable having your battery on the outside of the gun, you can always put in a 9.6 or even a large type battery, just hanging off the back of the gun. I probably wouldn't do that though, as since with an 8.4 battery, this gun has a really decent rate of fire, more than I expected. Okay, once you get the wires in, put your battery in, and then you just put your fuse and all that on top. And then once you got all that in, it takes a second. Since this is rubber, it just doesn't pop into place. Flip it over, got the piece in. And there you go. Batteries in the gun, and you're ready to shoot. The safety is located right behind and above the trigger. It's this little box piece right here. If you're looking at it from a shooter's point of view, you'll see a white square. As you can very vaguely see, white means safe. You flip it over. Red means you're ready to fire. Really nice safety. It kind of feels like it's a two-stage safety, but if you only push it in halfway, it's still safe. So you gotta push it in all the way and you're ready to shoot. Okay, well, since I figured we're looking at the rail now, I'm gonna show you how to put on the rear and front sights. Since they're both exactly the same design, you can put them on either way you choose. So I'm gonna have the back sight sitting all the way to the rear. As I said, really cheap. It's like 4 different pieces of just straight up plastic. I would say this with a blooper reel, but I don't have a blooper reel, so there you go. As I said, these front rear sights are really just merely to say that it comes with them. They're really not going to be useful by any means at all. They're just there that way if you don't have a sight. Well, you still really don't have a sight. Okay. 15 years later, we got the sights on the gun. So that's what it looks like. Front and rear plastic sights, and it's literally just laid. The two pieces on top is what you're going to use to aim, nothing of the actual main piece right here. And as you see, the front and rear sights would do me no good, as I've got more of a lower profile scope, so it's not even going to fit on, since the sights are in the way. So if you do buy this gun, I definitely suggest buying a 4x. Another unique thing to AUGs, which is pretty much the same thing for P90s, they have a 2-stage trigger here. There's no fire selector switch. All you have is the safety. So you push in the trigger halfway, and you get the semi-auto action. After a while, I got used to it. At first, I was kind of doing burst when I was trying to do semi because I was pushing it in too much. But eventually, you know, you can do semi-auto. And fully auto, I'm not going to do inside the house. I ain't trying to make too much ruckus. But that's pretty much just explaining the trigger situation. Moving on to basic disassembly of this gun. As I said before, you got a disassembly button located right here. Basically, you push it in from your left side, and you pull it all the way out. Kind of takes a second. Okay, there we go. And this is what it looks like. As long as you, here, let me zoom in. Pretty much just one really big hunk of metal. Just make sure when you put it back in, you're putting in the shorter piece in to the right side of the gun first. And basically, after you take that out, the whole front assembly comes off. This makes it really easy for, say if you have a hop-up problem, your hop-up wheel's stuck, you can just take this right out and, you know, just completely turn it the way you want to. So that's nice to see. And then you got the rest of your front assembly here. As I said, all metal, all pretty good. And, well, yeah, that's probably what's making this spring feel cheap right here, or the charging handle. This spring right here just makes stuff. It just goes back way too easily, and it makes it feel really, really cheap. That's, you know, that's probably the only beef I have with the gun. I'd probably want it to be more stiffer. Okay, after you're done doing whatever you're trying to do, if it's putting in a new hop-up system or putting in whatever to put the front end assembly back onto the gun, you just slide it right in. There we go. Got to kind of hold it in place. You get your big button piece, and that was my rubber butt plate on the back because I took the battery out before disassembling it, just because. And then it goes right back into place, kind of goes in forcefully, but it's in there. That's a really good pro to the gun because, you know, most guns you can't just push one button and you can get right to your barrel. So that's really nice to see. If you're not really tech savvy, this is a really nice gun to get because, you know, it's wired to the back. You ain't got to worry about, you know, anything crazy. It only fits one battery size, unfortunately. So you know which batteries to buy. As I said with the disassembly, if you're looking to put tie bores in there, you can put them in there yourself relatively easily compared to also, one more little thing on the magazine. I'm not going to load it up here because the only BB that I got in front of me are the Chinese BBs it came with. It's pretty much like your waffle style magazine. This is your standard AUG style. They also come in like a clearish, more tannish color. But if I was to use an AUG on the field, I'd probably just buy mid caps because, I don't know, I just like to use mid caps on guns that have more range. And considering this does have an M16 length barrel, that's probably what you're going to be getting. So as normal, you got the trap door right here on the top. It opens up, you pour BBs in, and then you got your feeder piece right here at the top. So far, it's been relatively good at feeding. The only problem I really see with the magazine is that the trap door doesn't click into place. It just closes. So, well, yeah, it really ain't much of a problem, but it's there. It happens with the Chinese clones. And finally, putting in the magazine, relatively easy. Just like an M4, it just slides right in. You don't have to do the whole AK action where you go like this. But some people might find it helpful to put in a smaller part to make sure they get it into the mag well. But either way, it clicks into place. That's what I like. It has a really satisfying click. That way you know this magazine's not going to fall out. The only thing, though, it does have a decent amount of wobble, but so far hasn't caused any misfeeds for me. Okay, so far this gun looks really good. Now we're going to move on to the chrono. Chrono is going to be with .2 BBs. I'm also going to do a rate of fire test, and that's just going to be with a standard 8.4 battery that this gun comes with. Here we go with the FPS of the gong AUG. 368, 362, 357, 375, 376, 367, 367. Okay, I've done FPS. Now we're going to do rate of fire. 0.25 gram BB because I'm about to do the accuracy test with it. I don't know if you, there you go, 14, and for some reason it's not reading, oh, and 13.98, so rate of fire is 14 rounds a minute. Okay, so overall the gun's FPS is averaging right at about 360 to 370, close to that range. We had a couple in the high 350s, and we had a couple of them in the high 370s. So, you know, right in that range. Overall, I would probably give this gun an 8 out of 10. Of course, no gun's going to get a 10 out of 10 in my mind. But some of the things that kind of downplayed the score was the wobbliness in the front grip, as we see right here. The weak charging handle, nothing I would want to slap forward. Even with the weak spring, it just doesn't feel like it would be worth it. Also, just a little bit of play in the magazine, but pretty much besides that, this gun is a really solid beginner's gun, really solid intermediate gun, and also for you expert players that want to try out that bullpup style rifle. Overall, I really like the gun. I'm still getting used to the bullpup design, you know, with the reloads. I only got one mag, since it's the one that came with the gun, but it seems to be just like M4. Overall, though, really nice gun. Another thing that's really cheap about the gun, though, is these sights. I cannot get over how cheap they are. You know, if you're going to give something really cheap, if you're going to give something away cheap with the gun, why give it away at all? I would have just, if I saw these sights in the box, I would throw them away right away. They're just absolutely horrible sights. But as I said, though, this is an AUG. So if you want to go for that classic AUG look, you're going to be buying a magnified scope either way. So overall, for 140 bucks, I think you're really getting your money's worth. There's nothing you can really lose out on this gun, especially with it being the bullpup design. I know a lot of y'all that do buy this gun eventually throw a barrel extension or a suppressor up here. That way it's, you know, no longer than an M16, but you can get up to a 650 millimeter barrel. That's pretty much my Dragunov. And that Dragunov is a really, really long gun. So, of course, you know, with the bullpup design, you're going to get that really nice feature. But also with it being JG, you know you're going to get a solid gun out of the box. It ain't going to be the most accurate in the world, but that's what JGs are for. You can work with them. You can do whatever you want with them. But keeping it on tabs with accuracy, I will be having an accuracy test after this video in a couple of days. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, this has been the JG AUG brought to you by airsoftstation.com. Get them all there, 140 bucks. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm out.